we go. Time for another sprint zone. This one for 519, and it looked like it might rain today, so very few people showed up for this one. In fact, I didn't expect anyone to show up. The last couple of TFRs Tuesdays that I showed up for these, like no one showed up, and I, just did the bike path, and I was like pleasantly surprised that there were a few good men that showed up for this one. In any case, I was a bit tired on this one. I had done some workouts a couple days before, and the jacket that I had on had lots of cuffing in it, which I know is like wattage. So it was like, I was just happy to be out there hanging on for dear life. In any case, I digress. And I'd like to take this time to thank Ron Kennedy, as always, for his telemetry, and of course the Ron Cam, which will be invaluable on this one. Cloudy day, temps are good, and as soon as we make the turn on to Prospect, there'll be a pretty good crosswind coming out of the southeast. So we got Don and Carrie pulling off the front, and they did, I think, most of the work up County Road 5, and their work is done for now, and they kind of pull off. Pretty clear, like, to me at this point in the day, that Carrie is the strongest. He's in the Miflo kit, so it looks like most of the major teams from Fort Collins are represented here, except Corn Doggies. We have Danny, he's a viral racer, he's in the Trek kit now, but obviously Miflo, Breakaway, and Don back there in the Rio kit. So we know who the strong teams are, who's dedicated, who's motivated, who's willing to get the work done. So it is go time. And we're looking at the power wattage here, and it's like, no joke. Early on, I'm like, my 30-second power already 250. Ron's 240 something. And Ron's is about 4, 5, 6 watts lower than mine a lot of the time here. And I think it's because he's a little more aerodynamic, despite the fact that, like right now, he's taking more wind than I'm taking. So we're looking at, let's look at the 5-minute power. Up top, I'm at 145 watts. Ron's at 142. Instantaneous, Ron's at 240. I'm at 225. So yeah, it looks like he is in front of me, and he's catching up with the whole wattage. Good shot of Don there in the Rio kit as Carrie takes up the mantle on this one. And this was like hard. And I wasn't like looking at my wattage at the time. I was just feeling my legs. I was like, I had done weights a couple days before and some running. And I was like, oh, that was painful. That was extremely painful. Don't know what to say there. That was painful. In any case, I make it over the top. Like, life is pretty good. Kind of sitting in, trying to recover. The pace is good. And I can see by the posturing of Carrie, he's like, oh, this seems like this is pretty easy. In no hurry to drift back and get into the echelon. Just very comfortable. And for you people that are out there racing and you need to, like, hone your skills, one of the skills is reading your, I guess, competitors or who's riding with it. You can tell, like, who's riding strong. Who do you expect to work? Who do you expect not to work? And you could see Carrie clearly the most comfortable in this bunch. I'm sitting in here now, number 2, right behind Ron. We've got the Ron Cam in the upper left there. He's looking pretty strong. Happy to be out there. And now looking at the wattage, even still, the 5-minute power, I'm like a lot more than Ron. Now, finally, we're equal at 161, and that takes a toll. So my heart rate's higher than Ron's at this point, 136 versus 134. But I must say, like this year, past couple of weeks, my heart rate is much lower in some of these earlier efforts. Although I think, that is true. Plus, I'm using the wrist heart rate monitor right now, and it always reads a little bit low. So, like, I scratched that. I mean, yeah, my heart's a little bit lower, but not this low. It's never been anywhere near where Ron's is. So I'm guessing you could probably add 20 beats to mine, and that's what you really have. So the only thing really here is like power and relative heart rate for me that you can go with. Now I'm at the front, not all that happy. It's okay. Let's see. I got like what? 245 watts, 30 seconds. So this is good for me. It's above my FTP, but I'm feeling like okay with the exception of my legs just don't have it. Aerobically, I think I was good on the day, but my legs were just like in extreme agony here. And I'm hoping that this is going to pay off later in the season as I've signed up for the Foco Fondo and Ned Gravel. Not looking to be super competitive, but I don't want to blow up like I did last year at Foco Fondo, going way too hard. In any case, good shot of Don from the Rio team going to the front here. I would argue he's probably the second strongest rider today on this one. Very close to Kerry, but Kerry's posturing and the comfort that he seems to show in his body seems to indicate that he's the man of the day. So I'm hanging on back here. 5-minute power, 201. Ron's 5-minute power, only 195, 196, and probably because I just got off the front. But Ron did his turn at the front, so you can see, and I believe it is some of the cuffing of that jacket less aerodynamic than anything anybody else is wearing here. 5-minute power, 207. Ron's is 201. Would have been interesting to have the power from Don and Kerry. At some point, maybe I'll ask him for that and see where they're going. Although, like, some riders are pretty cagey and they don't want to basically pull the pants down and show everybody what they've got. So, and I understand that. So I'm sitting in trying to recover here. Ron's a little bit off to the right here. I know he's got to be bleeding off more watts. For some reason, I don't know why he's not directly in the echelon. And I'm behind Ron, and I know being number 2 is not quite as good as if I was actually like 4 back here. But it is what it is, and I'm happy to be like sitting in. There's the flick of the elbow by Don, and Kerry happily goes to the front. Everyone stamping on the pedals. Oh, instantaneous power, well into 400 for me, now back into the 300. So Ron and I are tamping out some good wattage back here. And Kerry just effortlessly just crests the top of that hill. Just tapping out a rhythm. No sign of distress in his body whatsoever. No twitching. No position changes. Just smooth acceleration. Yeah. What can I say? Anyway, I'm in here hanging on. 30-second power, like 200 for 5-minute power, almost 200. So I'm pleased with how much wattage I've been putting out here. I'm just not pleased with how my legs are feeling at this point in time. Yeah, I kind of wishing that, yeah, I had a little bit better draft here, but that's okay. Because now we're comparing like my power to Ron's power. Like, why is my 30-second one in the 180s and Ron in the 170s? Like, it's due to the aerodynamics of my clothing. And I didn't bring the aero bike. I'm still on the tarmac. And it's taken me a while to get this video out. Had a lot of trouble downloading Ron's images. For some reason, the network kept timing out. And it takes like 2 hours to bring some of this stuff down. So I would like go upstairs and come back and go, got to restart it. And then with other things on Memorial Day, it took a while. But looking at my 30-second, I'm like, why am I pushing so many more watts than Ron is pushing on the day right now? And it's got to be, and I think I can feel it, the jacket that I had on. Like, for you people that think, Steve's just yapping about aerodynamics and clothing, cuffing and pushing. No, there's a real disadvantage to having clothing that doesn't really fit well. And I think this is a classic example of my clothing isn't good here. So here's a little acceleration by Kerry. I threw in 400 and some watts. Ron threw it, and this is where it's like no moss for me. I just don't have it. Don easily covers that one. And you can see in the upper right, we switched cameras, upper left, upper right. Danny's able to close the gap here, and I'm just out in like no man's name, and it's game over. Thankfully, I've got the Ron cam, and we can see what is actually going on. You can see my wattage has definitely shut it down, and Ron's 30-second power was 300 watts for a second there, so he is like doing some work up there. Finally looking at our 5-minute power. My 5-minute power is still 206. Ron's was 204. So even at this point now, finally they're equal. So I'll be looking forward to the day I bring out the aero bike and have a little easier time of it, and with fresh legs. So Ron's going for it, looking good. His heart rate's coming up. Power's just drilling it. Ron's power, 30 seconds, 367. And this will probably be one of the harder rides that Ron's going to be doing before the Unbound Gravel, which he just completed last week because I'm getting this video out late. Looks like he finished along with Jimmy Almond and Gail Bernhard. Jimmy posted some good stuff on the Facebook, and you could see the mud and the smiles. And I'm really happy that they got the full Unbound experience. Not no sunny day, no mud, They got the experience because, when they're like old, they can sit in their carbon fiber or rocking chairs, and they'll be like, yep, I did that. In any case, there goes Don making the attack, coming over the top of Ron, who is done for the day. This is where I probably need the carry cam, and we're going to see if Ron's close enough to see what's going to happen here. I'm going to guess that Carrie's going to sprint around him. I could be wrong. I'd be surprised if Carrie didn't for some reason, but maybe he's like just being nice, or maybe Don was playing possum back there. Yeah. Sucking in the draft and just enjoying the good life. In any case, let's just fast forward this one and see if we can get a glimpse on the Ron cam and see. It looks like Carrie's turned around first, so I'm gonna give that one to Carrie. Nice work, guys. Yeah, that was good. Wish I could have been there. Yeah. In any case, let's fast forward through here. Lots of ride in the middle of the road. Yeah, I just think that's not a good habit. Like, and I can see, was that I think Danny crossing the yellow line, for no reason way up there. I'm gonna just go back here just a second to see what's going on here. Way out here, way out there, super close. There's really no reason. But anyway, fast forwarding through here. Oh, there's me in the shot. Looks like I got my strap caught in my jacket when I was adjusting my heart rate monitor. Looks kind of goofy. Anyway, happy to be here. Yeah. All right. Still some more fast forwarding here as we get to the second one. Trying to recover. And here we go. And you could see my jacket, right? You could see the cuffing there, how puffy and baggy it is compared to everybody else's. I mean, that's probably increasing my frontal surface area by probably a good 5% or so, which is just it's just craziness. So I take the lead here. I know I'm not going to be doing anything, so I'll just go to the front. What do we got here? Looks like instantaneous power, in the 200s. So power not bad. Legs are screaming. Ron's in a good position. Carrie looks comfortable. Danny's in there. No real action. With only 5 people here, it's okay, it's a bunch of people that are doing a cooperative ride. They're all friends, frenemies until, and it's time to go. So I'm up front, and you can see that it looks like I'm working here. Well, I guess I'm not. My legs are tired. I'm 30-second power. 193, 194, so not bad. So I'm happy at this point. Danny takes over, and I'm going to drift back here. Got my Teletubby thing on, and even that's some wattage, right? I was watching NorCal Cycling. Did a thing on positions for video cameras, and one of my takeaways is that when he had his GoPro on the top of his helmet, that was an extra 16 watts. And given that the profile of the Insta360 is probably double that, so I'm probably bleeding off at whatever speed, 15, 20, maybe even 25 watts, just having that thing up there at, whatever the speed is. Anyway, Danny looking good, all over his machine, kind of weaving a little bit. I guess that's okay. Not certain where the wind is coming from at this point, but it looks like Carrie's pretty savvy, so it must be coming off of the right shoulder. Ron's still riding in the wind just a little bit, and maybe that's for like visibility. You know, if you've got the horsepower and you've got the visibility, it's always nice to see what is up the road. But now it looks like he's in line, saving some wattage here. You can see, yeah, his instantaneous power in the hundreds. So it must be pretty stiff wind. And I guess that would be true, right? Because going up Prospect, we had the wind coming off our right shoulder. So now we're pretty much going into that wind. Carey taking up the mantle. Also, it must be kind of gusty because, you know, the lines are straight, but you can see every once in a while people are off their lines. Carey's kind of looking around here, seeing if anybody's going to go around. Doesn't look like they are. And we're a good ways from where the sprint is actually going to start. Carey finally into the drops, looking comfortable. Nice cadence. Look at, like, you know, almost like a sewing machine. Just so smooth. Like no rocking of the hips, no movement of the upper body per se. Just smoothness here. Ron tapping out like 120 watts, and you can see, like, look at my 30-second power compared to Ron's. I am like 20 watts up on Ron here, and that is rarely the case. So I'm pretty much certain that it is the jacket thing. So mental note for you people out there that have these flappy jackets, and I'm looking at you, Ilka, in particular. Actually, even you, Ron, that clear jacket that you have is like a parachute, etc., etc. So you guys that have fine kit and expensive bikes, get yourself some nice clothing that fits good, and it will save you a marked amount of energy. You know, because I'm thinking, like, Ron's number 2, got to be pushing more air than I am. I'm number 4 or 5 back there. How's my wattage? Like, more. 30-second, 205. Ron's 30-second is 184. Yeah. Clothing matters. Anyway, Carey, happy to be at the front, just tapping out a rhythm here in the drops. Back looking reasonably flat. Nice aero position there. Disc brake bike. Just looking so smooth here. And all day, Carey has been so willing to go to the front and not looking for any help. You know, sometimes you see the riders kind of look around as if they're looking for help. No help wanted here. No help looking for here. And now the beginning of the hill begins. You can see the power. And even as the hill, even as the grade, Carey just confidently just points out the hole there. Ron's power, 30-second into the 230s, and finally 400, 500, 600 watts as Ron goes for the sprint here, as Carey has done his job for the day. I think Ron might have this one. I didn't render all my footage because I was so far back on this one. It was just like, you know, what's the point? And I don't even think I was there for the next sprint. So this is the last one that I'm going to cover for this one because, well, you know, not that exciting, and it is what it is. So this is coming to the end of Ron's first video file. And I think before it ends, Ron is still in the lead. Maybe somebody came around at some point. You know, I don't know. But in any case, it's about the struggle, not exactly the victory. You can see Ron 30-second power, you know, 280, 290, instantaneous watts, 400 for a second there as he is pushing for it. And there's the stop sign before the stop sign. So well done, Ron. You're looking strong. And a good time was had by all. Until next time, like, peace out, everybody.